about you, Chris? How you doing?
What?
How's it going?
It's going, man.
Cool.
You got the SOGs.
The one?
Soggy day today. The
What?
SOGs.
What?
What?
Never heard of that
Oh.
phrase.
This is the Link Cable Podcast. My name is Chris.
My name is Tim.
My name is Kinnan.
And this is episode 69.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah. It's a lot of episodes.
that is a lot.
To be honest, I didn't really expect this thing to get past like 20.
Yeah, I was like even probably less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we are. I don't know. I'm still enjoying it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, sometimes I'm like, because it's at night. It's been a long day, and I just want to like, you sort of just want to chill and do like play games or something. But you know what? Like once I'm ready to do it, I'm happy to.
I think at
To-
the same
to
time
talk.
too, it's not impossible to say, guys, I can't do this tonight. Like I know I've pulled
Yeah.
that on you a couple times where I can't, not tonight.
Well, tonight worked out for me because the grandparents are watching.
Yeah, so then it's even worse because then you're wasting it on this instead of
Well, that's kind of
something
what
else,
I was kind of. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I got the rest of the evening. It's fine.
I have a question for you guys. This is kind of off topic here.
Yeah.
And I want to make it very clear this is not something I know anything about, but I'm going to ask. I don't think that Tim would know anything about this. The other one maybe.
Yeah.
But I was looking on Reddit and I found do you guys there's a website called FeeFoo, FeFoo.
Yeah.
If you go to pics.feefoo.com, all it does is take like the hot pics for the moment on Reddit and just like lays them all out and you just scroll through so you don't have to click on anything. Just look at pictures,
Hmm.
And you see some good memes, you see some funny things, you see whatever. And
Yeah.
I'll check that instead of Reddit because I don't want to read. I just want to look at pictures sometimes,
I see. Yeah.
And now and again there's like, sexy pictures show up sometimes, right?
Oh.
And so my question here is hold on, I got my speakers there. My question is there's one picture of a girl in the back of an Uber and she's like feeling herself up and showing her boobs and stuff.
Wow. On Reddit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but she probably didn't take it. Probably somebody, because it's the back of an Uber, they had a camera there.
No. She
No?
did it to her. Like it's she's doing it to, get off on the on the public, the hiding fear of getting caught thing,
Okay. So she is doing a selfie. It's not a third person
Yeah, right.
camera. Okay.
Right. So it's not gross, it's cool.
I don't know where you're going with this,
Actually,
but I'm excited.
So this is also remind me to say something about Bayonetta and what's the girl
Okay.
what's the girl from is her name Juliet from what's that game with the cheerleader?
You're talking about Lollipop.
Lollipop
and
Chainsaw.
Chainsaw.
Is it her name's Juliet? Is that right?
Probably.
In any case, remind me about that later. So I don't know, something about it made me want to click through and like read the comments for not to see like I
More
don't know,
pictures.
dudes being pervy or more pictures. I don't know what it was. I just like this is interesting to me. I don't know. Not as a titillating thing, but this is not, I don't know.
What were
It's-
you? What
weird.
intrigued you? Well, like what? It's just
I don't know. You click through in comments sometimes and like
Alright.
read about the picture or something. And
okay. Fine.
so something made me click through
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
it was.
yeah. You want to see what people are saying.
So
Yeah.
so I'm guessing the comments ranged from artistic, like giving her artistic advice of setting up a better angle, and then the other ones are nice cans or what?
I don't know. I just read the very first comment.
Okay.
So the very first comment says, "Here she is, folks," and I clicked through that one. Take a look. And again, I don't. It's not anything like sexual or looking to get off.
That's a
on this.
weird
It's
top
just-
comment.
Okay. It says here she is, comments, folks, but there's a link, right? There's like it's in an anchor hypertext reference.
So where's that going?
So
You
I click
click
on
that?
that thing, and it goes to.
Okay.
So it goes to I don't know, her website, I guess.
Hmm.
And it's fucked up. So I'm gonna send this to you guys, and I want you to take a look.
I don't
at
know
it.
if I want that.
No. It's nothing gross. You can't. There's nothing even on here. Like there's nothing on the page that's
There's
like
no malware on the site.
no, but there's like no sexy. There's like no naked pics. Like it's just thing. I sent it to the Hangouts chat. So in this thing, I guess it's you don't have to go to it. I'm gonna explain what it is anyways.
Okay.
So apparently this girl can make. Oh no, I take it back. Like halfway down the page, there's all kinds of naked pictures. So don't.
I wouldn't have clicked on this. I can look at what the URL is. I wouldn't have clicked on that.
Yeah. Okay. So on this thing, I guess
That
it's
was
like
the URL you saw.
I didn't see the URL. It was just the link, and I clicked
Oh,
on the
okay.
link just to whatever.
All right.
And so in here, this is interesting. So I guess it's for her chat room. That
Sure.
I don't know. That's a thing where you people will record themselves and other people watch it and chat with them and give them tips and stuff. I guess.
Tips.
And so, yeah, I guess
So
that's what it says tips on here, and that's why I asked. Like, maybe Kenan knows something more about this. Like, it sounds like the biggest. Like, oh, I don't know anything about this. I legitimately don't. Like, not to say that I don't ever look at sexy pictures, but this is not in my realm.
All right.
And so it's crazy. Like I was looking through this because it is super interesting. So it says,
there's a menu basically here.
yeah, I don't even understand what half of the shit is, but like there's like tip menu and club menu, and you can like be a member of her club, and that gets you different stuff. And then there's like this, like it's crazy the amount of stuff on here, and there's a ton of usernames of people who watch this thing. And so, how much money is this girl making off of this? Like, it looks like it's a ton.
Who knows? I mean, some of those people, I think, have moved on to Twitch, and they stream themselves playing video games now, right? Like that was a big thing with Twitch, where Twitch made some rules about like exposing like certain amount of proper dress when you're streaming now because of that, because people were being sort of very scantily clad while they were playing to try and attract people, and it was working. Clearly, it was working. And so they made a bunch of rules about that, so that you have to be properly covered up.
So I fell down a rabbit hole, I guess is how you would say it, or a wormhole. I don't know. A couple months back, just because there was a whole bunch of people making a big fuss out of some cosplayers and stuff online, and I like kind of started going through what they were talking about and stuff because it was kind of like a background news thing. And so there apparently now are like a lot of cosplayers that kind of do more risque photo shoots and stuff, right? And the big thing for them right now is to use things like Patreon to sell prints and sell subscriptions to their stuff, as well as sell channels to their things. So because Patreon doesn't really have much rules against that sort of thing, like you'll find like a lot of the fan translated visual novels that come out on Steam, they all have Patreons that backed up all that kind of stuff. So a lot of this thing kind of, just looking at it, it kind of speaks towards that sort of thing. Like a lot of people are starting to, I don't know, monetize themselves, if that's the way.
But I remember this is an old thing though, right? Like having sex on like live video or touching yourself on live video while people chat with you and give you money that's not a new thing. Like,
but the approachability and ability to control is something a little bit new, like getting a little bit more closer to the person and being able to, like do that sort of thing. It's kind of like, to me, it speaks to like the whole like AKB48, like idols that you can meet sort of mentality.
I was just gonna say exactly the same thing. This is a little bit of Japan making its way into Western culture, right?
Making it way into Western culture as far as the marketability, right? There's a cheesecake restaurant chain in Toronto, Japanese cheesecake called Uncle Tetsu's. Yeah.
Have you been there?
No, I don't. I don't really think
Bullshit.
they're cheesecakes. I don't think they're cheesecakes all that. Anyways, like I've had.
How do you know
better.
if you have been there?
I've had the cheesecake. People bring it around all the damn time, and everybody likes having those bags all the time. So I don't know. I don't find their cheesecake any that good. But then they also started a cafe, like a maid cafe sort of thing, kind of doing a low rentish like AKB48, and they've been to Anime North a couple times as guests of honor there to do singing and dancing, kind of like once again a real low rent AKB48. So it's really gross. It's kind of that kind of.
Are they all Asian?
I don't know, to be honest. Like I was too busy worrying about the guest that we had there, which was a professional. So I don't really care about what they were doing.
It's so foreign. When I was in Japan in the summer, I think I told you guys that Fanny's nephews went to this thing, went to a maid cafe in Akihabara, and I shook my head so hard and said, like, you guys this is not okay. They're like, it's normal. It's normal. Like, everybody loves this. You want to go out? I'm like, no, man, it's not normal, but maybe it is. And I'm just old. Do you know what I mean? Is this is what teenagers think is cool?
Well, here's the comparison. What would you say, people here would go to Hooters, right? I have no interest in going to Hooters.
No, neither do I.
But there are people who do.
I got a good story for you about Hooters.
All right.
I've never been to Hooters.
I love this.
I've never been to Hooters, but
I never expect you to have a Hooters story.
I try not to talk about it too much on the show, but I don't think it's really that big a secret that I'm a teacher.
Yeah, I think we blew your cover a few times.
We've had
let's say this happened a long time before that, right? Before you became a teacher.
No, because I wouldn't say that like without any context. Like I need to say that to. So in any case, I worked with a guy who taught grade 8, and he was gone for the day. And there was a supply teacher came in, and a lot of the times at the end of the day, supply teachers will leave like a note saying how the day went, like notes that maybe you need to know for the next day, this kind of thing. And so the guy that came in for my friend, he left his notes on the back of a Hooters receipt from lunch that day. So the guy had left the school at lunchtime, gone to Hooters, and then came back to school.
Dude is a real life GTO, man.
That's pretty messed up.
That's
wow.
There you go. He's supply teacher. He's
So the thing about Akihabara and those maid cafes, right? There's different levels of it, and then I'm just saying, okay, there's different levels of it, and then there's like the ones where you go in, have a tea, and they're dressed like a maid, and like they'll give you the whole like whatever some treatment, like the talking to you like that you're their master sort of thing. And then there's the other stuff where they have quote unquote playrooms. It's never supposed to be sexual or whatever, but who knows what goes in there. But you go up there, and then there's a different menu for them to like clean your ears, like to play with you, to have like read manga together, play video games together, basically have a friend. So it's a low level version of a hostess club in a lot of ways.
How do you know so much about this?
Because this is knowledge that you can read online, man. It's not like anything special.
Right.
And they talk about it in anime and games all the time too. So.
Yeah, I got
wow, that is a silence here.
No, but it's true though. It's so far out of anything that I know or have any interest in,
Right, because if you wanted to have friends here, you'd go out and hang out, or you'd go out to a bar and like talk to somebody, and like maybe you go back to your place and have games and play games and stuff. But I don't know. In Japan, they feel well. I mean, they feel more awkward about it in Japan, right? About doing that kind of stuff. So
it was like that in Taiwan too. I try to invite people over, and everybody kind of takes it as something different than what I intended.
I think people are scared of rejection there, and in some ways, and they can't handle it. So it's better to be in a situation where the answer is yes, and they can't say no to it. You know what I mean?
I guess.
That's the feeling I got most of the time. That being said, Yakuza 6 coming out tomorrow, so
Yeah, we
Is that
can.
gonna have that in it?
We'll get to Yakuza 6. I think we got other things to talk about first.
sure.
So the to go back to the Bayonetta thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure her name's Juliet. Hold on.
Yeah, I think it is. I think you've mentioned it, the game a few times.
Yeah, Juliet Starling. I read a comment on NeoGAF once, and it completely like that's it. You killed it. That's it, right?
Mhm.
And that almost never happens reading NeoGAF or Reset Era.
No.
But I really, really liked one guy made the observation that Juliet is sexualized by others, where Bayonetta sexualizes herself. And that's the difference between the two. And that's why, like, I play Lollipop Chainsaw and I roll my eyes and feel uncomfortable and I don't want to play it anymore. And I play Bayonetta, I'm like, yeah, more of this, right? Because it's almost like and what do I know? I'm a dude, but I see it as like a female empowerment thing more than
Sure.
an exploitation thing, you know?
All right.
Like Bayonetta is in full control, which is what makes it so
The character
awesome.
is, but the character is written by.
For
dude,
sure.
right?
And that's why I hesitate to say like, oh, she's the best for this reason, right?
Mhm.
But I don't know.
I can see what you're saying. Definitely one's better than the other, right?
Yeah.
A lot better than the other.
Yeah. Oh, just something interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think? Let's say that the Maid Cafe thing is what's popular. Well, even Maid Cafe, whatever, internet chat room, Twitch with scantily clad ladies, whatever like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if that is a trend that teenagers are into and are excited about? What do you think the trend was, or what's something that you found titillating as a teenager that something that you could like get into, but not like, you know, I like playing video games, like something with like a little bit of a sexy hint to it. Anything that you guys can remember?
Oh man, I don't know if there's anything.
The list is too
like
long, Chris. I don't have the
Given the
time.
sexual
on
I don't think
deviant.
we had anything like that. Other than the boy band stuff that, right? That
you
boy
were
bands.
you were titillated by boy bands?
No, but what I'm saying, we had boy bands, but we didn't really have girl groups. Did we have girl
Well,
groups?
Yeah, we did. Spice
Yeah,
Girls,
S Club
Oh,
7.
right. Yeah.
All Saints.
Right. So I wasn't into that at all
Sure.
because I didn't like that type of music, I guess. You know.
Do you know what I thought of, and where that question came up? I remember watching like Japanese cartoons, like the first wave that came out not the first wave, the 90s wave that came out that was like super violent, super sexualized, like the manga entertainment, just trash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
That shit was awesome.
Yeah, but was Ninja Scroll like super sexy to you?
Not
Wicked
sexy,
City.
but there's Wicked City. But that's exactly the shit I'm talking about. There is still a hint of I don't want to say sexiness, but like the, you know, somewhat pornographic material, right?
But that stuff it feels the opposite of Bayonetta too, right? That stuff
Being
feels
softcore,
very
like that's
exploitive.
far?
I wouldn't call some of that stuff softcore either, though.
Right, but it's certainly in the vein of exploitive. I would.
Oh yeah,
I wouldn't
absolutely.
say it's not.
I'm not saying it's Bayonetta at all.
No,
Like it's completely exploitive.
there's
But that's
nothing really like. I mean, what is really like Bayonetta? I mean, unless you're talking going back in other media.
sure,
of
but I'm not
media,
even.
right?
I'm not even
But
talking about
video
Bayonetta
games,
at this point, though.
right.
I'm just like
Sure.
in general. What do you
Yeah.
remember, kind of as being?
Other than what I mean, a bit of that stuff, sure, I guess.
It was like that whole Alyssa Milano thing that was going on back then that everybody
Like the
was like,
Drambuie showcase review.
yeah, and she did some like softcore stuff and
Yeah,
things like that. And everybody was,
You remember that channel? Or it was Showcase, but Drambuie showcase review was like the late night. You know, you put it on and just like
Get your
cross
Dram-
your fingers that you
Drambuie
get
out.
something sexy.
Grand movie.
What's that? Do you remember that?
Never heard of that. No, never
No.
heard of that.
But you know Showcase? You know the channel Showcase?
Yeah.
They used to show sexy movies sometimes. And again, it was nothing ever like, you know, full on penetration or anything, but you get to see some boobies and
I was more interested in watching whatever the hell City TV had late at night on the weekend because they put some crazy shit on TV at night. Do you know? Remember that movie Society, that horror movie?
Yeah.
Have you seen bits of that? Because that was on TV one night when I was like 12 or 11.
It's not a good movie.
The ending is insane. Like, it's disturbing.
But Chris, that was Tim's sexual awakening. So
body horror.
That explains why he became a doctor.
The end of that movie is like some of the craziest body horror I've ever seen. I think even to date. So,
but I don't know we see that sort of thing anymore, man. Like, I don't know. Do we see that stuff anymore?
What, body horror?
No. Like things like Alyssa Milano becoming from young to becoming older, and then becoming like trying to break free of her child confines by doing like softcore movies and things like that.
I think all actresses end up. A lot of actresses end up doing stuff like that,
which is a shame.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think there's always the expectation that eventually you're going to do something.
Yeah.
Yes. What about who's the girl? Selena Gomez. She was in the Spring Breakers, right?
Was she?
Yeah,
I remember hearing about that.
Spring Breakers was pretty exploitive, I'd say.
Yeah. So was she the good girl who wasn't like all the other girls, like that sort of girl in that movie?
No, I don't think there was. Like, I think they were all.
Yeah, the one that left, the one that goes back home or whatever, right?
Yes, I don't remember the movie well enough.
Maybe it was crazy.
I don't know. Yeah. I think there's no problem with like more power to you if you want to dress sexy or whatever, but like I don't know. People will say like it's sex as a weapon sort of thing. That some people talk about like Lollipop Chainsaw and those kinds of characters that are written that way. But
I don't think Lollipop Chainsaw does that though. Like Bayonetta uses it to her. It's not even to her advantage. She's not doing it for anybody. Like, that's what I love about Bayonetta. She's doing it because she thinks it's hot, and I think that's cool as hell.
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you think it's almost like a fourth wall element to Bayonetta, where she's doing it because she's trying to manipulate the player in a way?
That's
like,
cool.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's sort of like because all the camera angles and stuff. Like, is it tongue in cheek? Titillation, but that she's aware of it because she's often looking into the camera, right? Mm-hmm. And some of that stuff, like it's sort of winking to the viewer.
Yeah, I can see that.
Where there's some fourth wall breakage. Yeah. I think that's part of what it is. There's that element of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really serious. It's not taken seriously. She's not taking it seriously as a character, right?
And I think I like the idea of it. Or I like the idea that you say about whether that's intentionally coming out as female power empowerment, or whether it's just, this is dudes writing this. And so
I want to see a God Hand sequel that's like Bayonetta, but with dudes.
Yeah, hell yeah. It's funny how it's moved. Like, what changed where I don't think anything changed. Maybe this is just a guttural response or a visceral response to like that 90s stuff that I was saying earlier. You think about like early JoJo, this kind of idea, right?
Right.
Like huge muscles on like scantily clad men is just as awesome as scantily.
It depends. Like, yeah, I mean, with JoJo's a bit of a different. Like,
sure, but so think about something like Muscle March for Wii. Do you remember that game?
Yeah.
Like, that kind of shit is amazing. Cho Aniki, like all that stuff is so good.
But I don't know, because that's super out of Japan, right? And Japan has a problem with.
Yeah, it's more making fun of, right?
Yeah. Like, what's his name? What's that guy? The leather guy.
Hard gay,
right? Like, people, like, I don't really get the hard gay thing. Like, I don't know a lot about it, but it seems to me that that's still part of that. But people
which is too bad, because I love hard gay.
People seem to love them there too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 10 years since then, and it's not the same anymore.
Japan expert. We're not talking about 10 years ago. We're talking about the idea of
They
hard
just
gay.
didn't
Yeah.
on the last what's it called, the punishment game. They had like a real serious actor. They were interviewing different actors to dress up like hard gay and seeing if they would do it. And there was a serious actor that he didn't end up doing it, but I think he's still in that. People still reference him at least.
How
No,
awesome
they
is
still
it?
reference him because he's still wrestling. He's originally
Oh,
a wrestler.
He's
so-
still a wrestler. Oh.
Yeah.
Like, how amazing. Anybody listen to this podcast? They're like, what? Hard gay.
There's a guy called Razor Ramon Hard HG or Hard Gay, and he dresses up in leather and has like a leather hat as well, and always goes whoo.
Woo!
Yeah, is out. And
I
stuff.
didn't. That makes sense that he's a wrestler. So he's
I
like
didn't know he was a wrestler either.
he's
I only
like
know
a
hard gay.
super gay wrestler. So that's his shtick, right? As a wrestler to be
Yeah.
in Japan. I mean, WWF, does WWF and stuff like I don't think any of us know about what's happening
Who's
in
that
that.
star guy?
But is there a
Stardust.
gay guy in that?
Isn't
Stardust
Stardust?
is super popular, but he's not in the WWE anymore. He's out, but he is super popular because he's from a long line of his whole family was in wrestling, so he's well known
I see.
into games and stuff too.
And is he overtly gay, or is he just sort of playing
He's
a
just
gay
playing
character?
it. Playing it. Stardust is a lot less gay than Goldust was, even though they're brothers, father and son. I can't
But
remember.
it's still kind of cool though.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, and I hesitate to say it's cool because I like the way that I see it is that it's cool as hell. Like super gay is amazing, not in a making fun of it kind of way, but the same way that Bayonet is amazing, right? Like own that shit and push it hard. Like I love it.
Yeah, I think in that same way, I think that's why I would like that too. Like,
But I
not in
think-
any other way, but in that way.
Sure, but if it's not, if that wasn't the intention when created, then it's an
Right.
issue.
Or if it's not, I mean, other people, I guess. I mean, if
Would it
you were
matter to you if he was actually gay or not gay? Like, does that matter?
I don't know.
No, not if you're putting on a show like that, I guess. But I mean, it
kinda
lends to
does,
your
though.
credibility more if you are, right? Because then if you're not, are you just like
Doing
misrepresenting,
it, yeah,
right?
yeah, I think it does.
Is that?
Do you
that
know
is-
is Razor Ramon gay?
Can't remember. I thought he had girlfriends before, but I'm not 100% sure at this point. But back to the thing about him and being like he was hot. He was like on every single day of the television. Like you'll see, like back in 2005, like he was just everywhere. So back then, the thing that he was doing and why a lot of people in Japan who were interviewed about a lot of gay people and homosexuals in Japan who were interviewed at the time, they were saying it's okay, it's not great, but I mean, at least he's putting us on television. Like it's a
and
first step.
in a
It's not
positive
the
way.
end step.
Like, people
that's true.
like
It's in a
him.
positive way.
I guess
right?
they're taking what they can get, right? Like they prefer something more realistic.
Especially in Japan, right?
Yeah.
Not getting a lot of headway.
No.
Rome wasn't built in a day. It takes time, right, to go from there. So like it hopefully like has made changes and people feel more confident about coming out in Japan because it was a problem back
Sure.
Well, I'm sure it still is.
then. Sure,
It's
yeah.
still probably here.
I mean, Korea doesn't have any character like hard gay. That's for sure. As far as
What's
I
the gay scene like in Korea? Do you know?
I
All the
don't
boys.
know, but I don't think it's. I think it's a lot worse in Japan. I would imagine.
Yeah.
I think.
There's that Christian value thing that they have
Yeah,
to fight
there's
against
way
too.
more. Yeah, there's way more Christianity in Korea, right? You have to consider that.
Got to fight that.
Yeah, it's.
It's difficult. But yeah, I don't know. Like, all these characters that we're not sure whether they're exploitative or not. Like, to me, it's always hard to measure in Japan because the reason why they have the female characters is because they can sell more figurines, like toys and all sorts of things, right? Like
Mhm.
and accessories and stuff, right?
Gross.
Nobody there aren't that many
You
male
have
character
some of them
ones.
too. I think.
Tell
Don't
me
you have a
what. What do
Bayonetta
I have?
figure? Do you have a Bayonetta figure?
I have Bayonetta amiibos, but it's not because she's sexy. It's because the game is amazing and she's cool as hell. Like, it has absolutely nothing to do with her sex appeal.
That's what they all
Right.
Sure. No, I would argue that that's exactly what they all say.
say.
Wait, hold on.
No,
No,
they in Japan they will
you know what
say.
I'm saying.
But
Yeah.
like, take it for what Chris is saying. But the thing is, the reason why they made it right and why she was even available is because they wanted to have that sexy character,
That's
right?
That's
So
right.
that they could sell that stuff.
Mm.
Right? Now, you might not take it that way, you might not interpret it that way, but at least they would have this stuff out there.
Sure. Ah,
Where's my God Hand sequel? There is a super gay character in God Hand, actually. You fight
Yeah,
to
but that's-
multiple gay characters.
but that's not okay though.
They're really over the top.
Like but I don't know if, again, I don't want to speak for the
But they're not okay.
for the gay- for
It's
the gay community, but
they're
it seems
incredibly-
pretty offensive.
yeah, they're very yeah. Absolutely.
Man.
All right. Any games anyone played?
I played some games.
Sorry, just to clarify, Razor Ramon, hard gay is not gay. He actually he has a wife and child.
Yeah, and I wonder whether that changes it. I think, who was it? One of you two asked about, like, does it change your feeling if somebody playing super gay is not gay? I think it kind of does.
It would if. I mean, in Japan it's different because they're like, at least something is changing for like making it more visible to the public space, right? But here that wouldn't work at all.
Okay, how about this though?
Get away with that.
You know the big thing, like the first network TV, like Ellen kissing another woman thing,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Like back in like the early 90s or whatever it was.
Sure.
If Ellen wasn't really gay and that still showed on TV, would that still have done as much as it did to kind of move things
It
forward?
would have been a big backlash, maybe, because it was presented as something real, right?
Sure, but at the same time, it was still a gay kiss on network TV. Like, I'm sure that does something to push
You're gonna get something, but you're gonna get, like, it depends, right? There's pros and cons. If she wasn't, then it would take a lot of wind out of the sails, right?
Do you think so though? Like,
yeah.
and
Well,
but
because
if
there's already
everybody knew
movies.
she wasn't,
Because we already had that. We already
not
had.
that, but it's not that. It's not. Sorry, it's not that she was trying to hide not being gay in this theoretical situation, right? Like, everybody knows that Razor Ramon is not gay except for us, and we just talked about how that helps the cause or the fight.
Because
And
there, it's totally like they're at a different way.
But 20 years ago, we were at a different place too.
Yeah.
And so even if she wasn't gay and still pushed, like, I want to do this on TV, like I want to do this to, raise awareness or whatever. And again, it's a different
Sure.
situation because I don't think that that's
No,
what
then-
hard gay is doing it for.
Yeah.
But I think that it would still have been accepted as, hey, you know what? Take what we can get.
Well, and then there's that, like, there's those people always trying to push envelope, right? People who are known to maybe not be gay or bi, and then they do something like celebrities and stuff like that, and they do something to try and get attention for their own. Like, aren't there singers that have done that? Like female singers that have done that?
Madonna and Britney.
Yeah, right. And are they bi?
That was pretty
Right.
eye rolling. Yeah.
Yeah. So is it like, does that help or not? Right? Are they just, who knows? Right? I mean, it's hard for us to answer that. I think we'd have to really ask an expert on that.
I don't know. Having the visibility and seeing it more times like increases the normalcy of it, right? Like having people of color on TV
Mhm.
will increase people's like acceptance of people of color.
Well, we're getting into
push
things
that boundary, right?
Yeah,
So-
I mean, essentially, you're getting into things like purity tests, right? When you're like, well, who can say this is okay except for people,
Gatekeeping.
right? And gatekeeping, right? Like, you're right. I mean, there's probably some good done no matter what, but depends on the amount.
but I'm not like, once again, it's steps, right? Like, whether or not like whether or not that is a positive thing or not, it makes it, because there's a precedent set for it. It means that other people are going to feel more comfortable to say to their producer, "Hey, I want to have a gay relationship on television and blah blah blah." Right? It's gonna get more people to say, "Oh yeah, okay, fine." Like, I mean, people have done it before. Like, once the barrier is broken, right, it allows for that progression to happen.
But then some people can do it really well, like the first time. You look at like, as I looking at this recently, Mr. Rogers. He back in the day brought a main character on the show as a police officer character who was black, and that was at a time when there was like people who would like, they didn't like that black people were sharing swimming pools, public swimming pools.
But he was actually black.
Who?
The policeman that went on the show.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like he's like, you're going to be a character on the show, and you're going to play a police officer, and he's a black man, right? On this show.
And from what I recalled, like, made no mention of him being black. It's just another person, right?
And he washed his feet in the first episode.
That was the that was in the trailer.
Like, for the documentary that's going to be out this summer. So yeah, it's cool. Like, I mean, you look at that, and if someone did that now, it would still be awesome. Like, there's nothing even that's, you know what I mean?
No, I think if somebody did it now, nobody would bat an eye.
No one would bat an eye, sure, but you know what I mean. Like, there's not even back then that was the right way to do it even then.
Is that like washing your feet with a furry?
What? What did you just do?
No, I'm trying to think of like the equivalent of doing that on TV.
Don't compare the furries.
Why? Why? I'm trying to think. So give me a different like subculture group. Yeah.
But being black is not a subculture necessarily.
Okay, so somebody, not subculture, somebody that was like persecuted, or
all right,
seen
so
as like
that's
lesser.
your angle. Then, I mean, even are furries not persecuted? I guess.
So who are you laughing at, furries?
And I'm laughing at your comparison.
I have trouble with. I don't respect you
trouble
anymore.
with it. No.
What's the? So give me something else then, other than furries. What's the equivalent of coming on TV with Mr. Rogers and washing your feet in 2018?
I don't know.
Probably somebody who's Arabian at this point.
I don't really understand.
I don't know. I'm not sure I'm following that one.
I don't know if I can follow up furries. You're right, but
yeah. See, so take it back.
No, I still don't think it's a good jump.
So give me something better.
I don't think it's a good comparison. Unless you're comparing, okay, if you're comparing about people who are persecuted, I still don't think it's a good comparison. But I can't give you anything better other
transgenders.
Than
Well, no, transgender, but even like go further than that and do like the, I don't know, we're still pushing furry territory.
We have transgender dude jumps to furries.
No, but if you think about like
who has a harder time in life? I'm pretty sure the transgender person has a harder time in life than furry.
That's fine, but I'm talking about I don't know the term other kin or other something. You know, the ones where like your soul is a different species or something. Other kin, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And so when I talk about, how do I say, I'm not well versed enough to say, I don't want to say, this is not what I mean. Okay. This is not at all what I mean, but I'm not sure what to say. Like the idea of like
other kin is the name.
No, but you know, like the GLBTQ2 plus whatever, you know, there's like a whole bunch of different things, right?
It's gotten so long that
sure, but and that's what I'm saying though, is that I make the jump from transsexual to furry, and that it's under the same umbrella when you start to push to like other kin and identifying as something different from your birth state. Does that make sense?
I guess it depends if you view people who are into dressing up as animals as if they're identifying as that animal, or
but some people do, right?
Right.
Like some people, the reason they do it is because of that.
Or whether they are getting a kink out of it. Like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
It's different, right?
Like the
One's an
diaper thing. Have you ever seen the diaper videos?
Oh, I don't want to go down that hole.
You do not. Do not. I shouldn't say that though, because then I'm being insensitive to like diaper.
But do you need to be
Subcultures.
sensitive to kinks, or do you need to be sensitive to identity, right? Like,
Yeah, but what if you identify as a baby?
I don't think that's. Then how can you do anything? Like, how can you function in society? Maybe people do, but
Well, you force it when you go out, and then you come home and you put on a diaper and film yourself like shitting in your pants.
I don't think I would compare that to that's
To
kink.
black people.
Oh my god, Chris, we should get off this topic.
Well, I don't think that we're saying anything awful.
I know. I don't think we are. But
If we are, you can find us on Facebook.
Tell us in the comments. Tell us in the comments how awful we are, please.
Well, no, and I don't think that if we are being awful, it's not malice. Like we're not trying to be awful. Like I'm trying to honestly work through this.
These are hard things to talk through.
Well, especially when you're not part of the community, right? Like
there are some people that would get their back up of any kind of discussion like this from people who they somehow perceive to be not part of the community, right? Yeah, which I think isn't fair, because how are we going to talk about this then, right? Like,
yeah. Well, and I think
it's okay to talk about it. Just be respectful to,
So just to make sure that we hit like every nail along the path, I think that you can draw comparisons between not being able to talk about this and like trying to educate kids about First Nations issues, because the same thing. Like I want to educate people. I want to make sure that people are, kids are getting the right message, but I don't know what the right message is. I'm not the right person to say this, and so I really hesitate to give knowledge or start a discussion about it when I don't know if I'm doing it justice. I don't know if I'm doing things wrong.
Whenever I feel like that,
it's always a good idea to research, and that always helps.
But even then, though, you can't just say First Nations people feel this, because how many different tribes are there that feel different things?
You don't have to say what they feel. I think that's a personal thing, right? But I mean, anything else, like you could say what things that have happened. And you can always,
context, sure.
And you could always say, imagine if you were in that situation, someone, how would you feel?
I'm okay with that part.
You can sort of say, well, if you can imagine that, then that's a small piece of maybe how a person who would really feel if they were actually in that situation.
What were you going to say? Sorry. I
was going to say that, like, the research that you need to maybe, and it's difficult, right? Like I don't know how I'm going to talk to my son about it, but I'm imagining if I wanted to do the research on it, and you're right, it's hard to encompass every single tribe's understanding or feeling on the situation, right? But sure, you can find a common thread, since they were all taken away from their land in a similar fashion, and they were being marginalized in fairly similar ways. So, like, when maybe they can tell you the kind of message they feel that would help people understand them better, like and that's it's hard. It's gonna take lots of time to talk to people about that sort of thing, but that's the only way that you can understand it better, right? Like, I didn't understand for a long time. I didn't understand the difference between how people in America who are Black feel about themselves versus people in Canada who are Black who understand themselves. And it wasn't until later on in life that I understood it better, because the people in America, because they're slaves, they have no connection. The people in Canada, more often than not, chose to be here from America or from Africa, or most likely in our part in Toronto, it's usually Jamaican or Trinidad. You're right, but there were a lot more Jamaicans, Trinidadians, and people from the Caribbean here, right? So their outlook on things is a lot different than people from Africa, people from the States, and how they look and see themselves. They have a strong roots and culture that they grew up with, and they never feel at least from my talking, they don't ever feel as, or they never project as much that that's a big chip on their shoulder that they have to overcome. Whereas a lot of African Americans I've met from the States who have talked about it, they always do seem to have a chip on their shoulder when just talking about mundane things and stuff. Like race comes up a lot, right?
Well, for good reason, right? I mean that they're the ones that are living it, right?
But look, I mean, like there's race everywhere, and there's race things that I have to deal with too, and that like I can talk about. But
talk about it. I'm really curious to hear about that if you're comfortable with it.
Like I can say that it's always been kind of difficult being an Asian person in a group of people, because I mean, let's just talk about the dating aspect. It's always been a bit difficult because there a lot of Asian women don't want to go with Asian guys because they feel that they're gonna not have the freedom to do things. They're not that Asian men are not sensitive to their needs. Like there's a whole culture of lowering the value of Asian males as potential partners, you know?
Mhm.
And that's something that you have to fight against, unless you're like there's those people that say, oh yeah, I love Asian guys. They have to be like super buff, super hot, like those kinds of Asian guys, right? Okay, almost
so guys
every
like you.
So yeah, okay, sure. Not guys like
Super buff, super hot like you.
Guys like Tom.
Tom's super buff.
But yeah, I mean that's something that definitely I was fighting against a lot of the time, because like a lot of the girls that I grew up with, they were like they're well educated, have like grew up with parents who wanted them to have very, very Canadian culture. So they went off and said, okay, I want to date white guys and black guys and all that stuff. Right.
Can I ask, were the girls that you grew up with born here, or did they come from over there?
Born here. Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's different then.
Yeah.
Because there's one thing that I noticed when I was in Taiwan, and one thing in having conversations with people is a lot of girls don't want to, and this is messed up, but don't want to date Chinese dudes or Taiwanese dudes because like they don't want to be somebody's mother.
Yep.
And that's not I am not going after Chinese dudes at all. That's not just observationally, that's what I've heard from a number of different people saying, like, you know, I find it really difficult to date because I'm not looking to take care of somebody.
But you know what's interesting about that is that in every single culture, you have this concept of the wife taking care of the husband. We see it on like TV here,
Sure.
like
Yeah, but
married with children. Like it's a cultural thing that everyone. But I think what happens is you sort of go, well, oh, that other culture is so different than ours. So
let me
sort of
talk
go
to,
right, like
talk to
what I think
Chris's point, right?
yeah. Well, that's what I'm just let me finish what I was saying. Like, so when Chris is saying that he feels like that's what's happening over there, I think part of that is just that.
No, not necessarily what I think. I don't think anything about it. Listeners,
what you were hearing about it, what you heard about.
Sure.
Yeah. I think part of that is just it's easy to say, well, our people are like this, but other people don't have that problem. But it happens here too.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's sort of like othering, right? It's like, well, they don't, you know, if I went out with this type of person because they're familiar with their own culture and background, they assume that doesn't happen in other cultures, right? Or we all do it, right? And I think that it's interesting because, like, yeah, we have that kind of meme here with like popular concept of like the wife taking care of the husband. Right?
Yeah, but it's not a wife taking care of a husband. That's the point that I'm trying to make here.
Oh, okay.
It's literally mothering a son. Like what Chris is talking about are guys who have always been like, because I'm sorry to say, in Chinese culture, the belief still is that a male is the head of the household, has to be taken care of, has to be praised like the god of the family or whatever, right? That's how it's seen.
That's an interesting
okay.
So, sort of paradox though, right? Like on the one hand, you're the head of the household, But on the other hand, you're treated like a child and have to be taken care of. You know what I mean?
So that's the thing. Like the precious son who can't do anything for themselves because he's the precious son. We need to make sure he's looked after to the point of he's not able to do anything on his own. Now, I didn't have that kind of upbringing because once again, like my father not once again, but my father immigrated here when he was in high school. So he has a very Canadian outlook on life, tried to raise me in a very Canadian, North American sort of way. So I can't speak to that part myself because I didn't feel like I was babied throughout my life. Okay. Now
you're white on the inside.
Thank you very much. Okay. So
are you sure you're allowed to talk about this, Keenan?
Why not? Like,
I'm just kidding.
I'm talking about my own race.
No, I'm just kidding. Just joking.
I can tell you, like I can see
That's
from
what
other
it is.
families that still happens here, but not to the same extent because it's not really allowed as much. But yeah, I can see how that can happen because those guys are not self-efficient. So whoever they marry is going to need to take care of cooking, cleaning, taking care of the household, taking care of the kids, taking care of all the housework, taking care of all the house finances, all of that stuff, being a housewife. So if you're not prepared for that to be his replacement mother, then of course you're going to be like, well, I don't want to date an Asian guy. I want to go date somebody else who's going to be more self-sufficient, right? So that is the way of thinking a lot of the times. And then that makes it harder for those of us who are white on the inside. Thanks, Chris.
What did banana,
Twinkie, all of those things, right?
Do you remember in university? This is one of my favorite jokes. Do you already know what I'm going to say or no? Matt would know for sure where I was going with this one. One of my favorite jokes in university was when we were getting breakfast ready or something. And I asked Matt, I said, do we have any eggs? And then Matt looked in the living room and Tim was watching TV. He goes, we have one.
Do I really qualify? I don't know if I do.
Dude,
you ate spaghetti with chopsticks. Okay,
yeah, man,
I can't.
I was practicing using them.
No. I remember one conversation that we had when you were using chopsticks to eat chicken fingers. Yeah. And I said, why don't you use a fork, you idiot? And you were like, it's easier to use chopsticks.
I think it still is, dude.
Okay, well, you're still an egg, so.
All right. I think chopsticks make a lot of things easier to eat than a fork. Yeah.
Like chicken fingers.
Yeah. Use your hands. That's the easiest.
While you guys were talking about head of the household and kind of like the male Asian thing, it reminded me of another story from university with, do you remember Paul? I don't want to say his last name, but do you know Paul?
Yeah, I
was
remember
friends with
him.
Mark and them.
Yep.
I remember him telling a story, and I can't remember if it was about Mark. I think it was about Mark. And I remember him telling the story about how, I'm going to pretend it was Mark, where Mark was sleeping and he had looked over at him and he was like talking in his sleep. And he had like his blanket, like I can picture his like mannerism, the actions for it. But imagine like the blanket pulled up right to his chin and like his hand sticking out the top, like that cat pose thing that people do.
Yeah.
And rocking his head back and forth going, talk of the town. Like that's what he was dreaming about. Like, I don't know whether he was excited because he was dreaming about being talk of the town, but it's funny the dumb shit you remember.
That is pretty weird.
That was pretty funny though.
Yeah.
So you're going to talk about your games that you played this week?
We should just save them all for next week. Look what time it is. We should just do this episode. We should entirely.
The no games cast.
Yeah. I didn't really play too much. So
anything else you want to? So if we're gonna do that, we can talk about Yakuza 6 comes out tomorrow. I actually got a phone call tonight. From EB saying, come and pick up this big box here that's got a bunch of shit
because we don't want this shit in our store and we're picking
on
it
top of the game. What comes in that thing? You get it like some highball glasses or something. Is it shot glasses? I think it's.
They're more like whiskey glasses. I think it was.
And there's like a book with it?
There's like those ice stones, so that like you can
the tumbler
drink whiskey.
stones.
Yeah.
Those. Yeah, I want some of those. I don't have any.
Well, you order the Yakuza 6
No.
and you'd have them.
No, just give me yours. You're not going to use them.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna become a big drinker now. Why are you laughing?
Big fighter.
Yeah.
So there's that.
An art book, I think.
Yeah, we can talk about it next week. But the I played what's that game called? Explosion Machine. Graceful Explosion Machine.
Oh, okay.
It's good. It's fun. Like
Yeah.
score attack stuff. I'm not usually big into the score attack thing, but there's a cool combo system in this game. I like it quite a bit. I think it was worth. I think it was on sale for $7 on
Cool.
Switch.
Nice.
Outside of that, I wanted to talk about what's that game called? I'm too old. I can't remember shit ever. Rusty Lake. You ever hear about Rusty Lake?
No, I like the name of it.
Yeah, Rusty Lake is like The Room,
Yeah.
like that, but more of like a story thing. Like you click on shit until things happen.
Right. Right.
So a little bit of a mix between that, but also like the one you like, the point and click adventure stuff, where like you got to get this item and bring this over to this thing, and
Right.
it's that kind of vibe. But it's really cool.
Looks weird.
Yeah.
Good reviews.
The one that I played, there's apparently Rusty Lake is like, I don't know whether it's the company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is the company, but the names, the games are all named Rusty Lake something.
So the one that I played was called Rusty Lake Roots.
Oh.
Like tree roots.
Yeah.
Very, very highly recommended. Very highly. It was a game that I had in my Steam library for some reason, and I started playing it kind of like around midnight one night, and I ended up staying up till 4:00, just played through the whole thing.
Cool.
Yeah. It had its hooks. So
Nice.
that's it.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I played something, but I don't think we have enough time to get into it too much.
Okay.
Maybe save it for next time.
Are you playing Yakuza 6 or no?
Me? I'm more excited actually the way things are going with maybe picking up God of War to be honest. The reviews are looking actually really good.
Yeah.
Really,
for
really
sure.
good. So, we'll see. I'm thinking about it.
I've got both coming in.
Yeah.
So
I'd like to play God of War, but as a $20-$30 budget title, because I don't know, I assume maybe
Eventually.
not because it's big, but I assume that kind of game drops pretty quick.
yeah, I mean, like they'll sell them
Yeah,
back.
probably
There'll
will.
be billions of them.
Yeah,
If
but
you're
I'd
not-
like
yeah.
to check it out.
I bought it E3 last year, so I got it for the $50 price.
It's not
Oh.
bad.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So next week, Yakuza 6 special probably for the most part, with maybe a little bit of God of War.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
All right. Oh man, we didn't even get to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. That's the other one I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
New campaign yesterday.
Well, it was cool. It was cool. I mean, it was a little slow, but things are everyone's getting used to
Definitely
things.
sped
Right?
up. Definitely
New
sped
GM,
up.
a person who wasn't GM before, I don't think either. So
Nope,
that's
he
going to
hasn't.
take time, but it's it was good. I got to do
Oh.
some cool. Everyone got to do some cool stuff,
Yep.
which is what you want usually, right?
I bounced an arrow off a wall into a skeleton.
Yeah. I landed on top of a zombie with a shield and knocked him to the ground.
Are you guys
Turn-
playing online with people, or how's
Yeah,
that?
on Roll20.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I
do some
might
cool stuff.
want to join in if you guys want to have another person. Or...
Sure, man. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Couldn't figure out a way.
Yeah, I'll bring it. I'll bring it up to Polyboy next week. and
You
we'll
have to do
see.
some homework though.
Yep.
So you have to set up
Yeah.
your sheet and stuff. But
You have to
that's-
start it as a level 1 bitch.
Right.
that's-
Well,
there's-
how many months have you guys been working?
no,
on
we just played one
Yesterday.
session. almost leveled up.
No, I think everybody did. I think he
Yeah.
gave it to Andrew.
Who I was carrying the entire time.
Well,
Pretty
no, not the entire time. You dropped him,
Oh.
dropped her in piss water for a little while.
Yeah, that's true.
It was a lot of fun. Cool. All right. I guess that's it for this week.
Yeah, let's.
See you at episode 70.
Bye.